What is going on, my people? Good morning, modern
everyone.
leaders. Yes. I am super pumped up for today's training. And it's one where we're actually going to lean into not only some of the things that we've used in the past, but also I want to tap into some of the things that give you energy. So have you ever had those days where you feel like your energy's fire on all cylinders? You're like, everything I touch seems to work out, and even problems that may be significant, that felt like they were significant in the past, just seem to be you're able to conquer them. You're like, I'm unstoppable. I'm good to go, right? Have you ever had days that's the opposite, where you wake up and you're exhausted and you're like, I just got to get through the day. I just got to make it to the end. You just check the boxes. You're not really there fully present, and you're just doing the bare minimum in order to get to the end of the day. Well, you know what happens in both of those scenarios, right? You have this awesome energy, and you literally will attract more people with awesome energy, and you'll be able to lead them, because that's what energy does, right? It's very attracted. You can attract other people with your energy, but also the opposite is true too. If you have too many days of those other days, it's very easy to get into just the normal day-to-day, just getting to the end of the week. So I want to let you know that if either of those days sound like days that you've had recently, welcome to the human race, because we all have them. I know I personally have them, and I have really been able to sit down and analyze the days that have been working really, really well and give me a lot of energy, and the days that don't give me a lot of energy, because there's a lot to learn from those days. And we're going to share with you guys today the 10 different strategies that we use to really lean into and hack our energy, because energy is so much, right? You can even they call it defying the statistics. I remember hearing this quote early on. It's 1 out of 10 people that you talk to will take that next step that you're asking them to take, whether it's joining your program, joining a free group, or whatever. But the truth is if you have energy, if when the person gets on, somebody's just naturally attracted to that level of energy, you can even defy those statistics. You can get 2, 3, 5 out of 10 willing to take that action. Now, when I say energy, I also don't mean Mark energy, or like my mentor Josh's energy. We all have different energy. Even Teresa has energy. We were talking about this just before we get started. There's a different level of energy that we all have, and it's whether or not we have that, our own version of energy in that moment, or if we don't. And we really want to show you what we've been able to find in terms of the 10 hacks that are the biggest game changers for us. And we want you to lean into it and pull one of these out. I don't know, maybe multiple ones, but I want you to really focus on one in terms of this next week, leaning into it and really being able to develop that energy, okay? So guys, welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. We help entrepreneurs become modern leaders so they can excel both in their personal lives and in their business. And we do that without having to sacrifice family time or burn yourself out. How we do that is actually short videos on Mondays and Thursdays. This is where we really get into the beginning of our stages of our teachings. And then we have longer workshops here on Saturdays where we can take a deeper dive into these subjects, or we can actually help pull some stuff out of you. We always really focus on coaching when it comes to leadership. We lead through coaching, and how we do that is come onto these workshops, which we call them workshops because we get to ask you guys powerful questions and really pull out all the amazing answers that you have on the inside. And so if you're definitely not subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe. I know most of you guys are here already are. And just a little caveat, I literally just got off with a 3-hour coaching and leadership summit. So when it comes to energy, let me tell you, I don't have as much as I normally have, but at the same time, I've been able to use these hacks to really come back, to really show up the way that I want to show up. And I know that you can too. So welcome to the call. Teresa's here, my amazing co-host. What's going on?
Nothing.
Nothing?
It's all good.
Nothing? All right, good. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. By the way, before we do that, I want to take a little bit of roll call. It looks like Trisha's here. Of course, Kurt is here, a.k.a. Kane Legacy. We got Carmen. If you aren't subscribed to her podcast, definitely subscribe to that. We have Amber. What's going on, Amber? You were with us earlier today. Oh, my goodness. Who's watching the kids? Who's watching the kids? It's okay. They can watch themselves. All right, guys. You ready to dive in? Dive into number one?
Let's do it.
All right, go for it.
All right, so I'm going to start with the most obvious one, and that is prioritizing sleep. So this is one of the things that we tend to ignore we all know that sleep is important, right? And we all know that sleep is directly tied into to our energy levels throughout the day. But we, for some reason, tend to put that on the back burner because it's easy to do that, right? Like, oh, we're so busy. And we always feel like, well, as long as I get some sleep, I'll be fine, right? But as time goes on, it just builds and builds and builds. And it just becomes this thing that will not allow us to have the level of energy that we really, deserve. But it's not just energy. I mean, it affects our mood, it affects our metabolism. There's all the science behind it. We know that sleep is important, but understanding how much sleep you should get is it's all personal, right? So I think that's one of the main things. It's like, okay, you understand that sleep is important, but how much sleep do I personally need to have? Because we're all different. Some of us can function with 6 hours of sleep. Some of us can only function if we have 8+ hours of sleep. I don't know who's sleeping more than 8 hours, especially if you're a parent. However, you figure that out for yourself, right? And it's kind of like trial and error. Like, what is it that, like, how much quantity of sleep that you get, and how does your day go? Like, how is your energy level? How's your mood? How's your your reflexes or whatever, right? Because sleep is super, super important. And I remember when, obviously, Mark in his police career, sleep was something, it was a luxury, right? Because his crazy hours and just like the toll that the career took on him. Sleep is something that was just like almost non-existent sometimes. And I mean, he was just getting by. And you can think about any season of your life. Maybe you're a new parent, you got an infant, like sleep is just like non-existent. However, we know that sleep is one of the most crucial, human needs. So really prioritizing sleep, even if it's not always going to be perfect, right? But as long as you have a focus on that, it will definitely improve your energy levels and all of the other things that it involves.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I mean, I remember when I was actually going through that myself, one of the things that helped me overcome putting sleep on the back burner, because I think it's very easy to do that when we think about like, well, sleep is only affecting me. Like, it'll just be something that I can pull from right now so I can do all of these other things. And I started to realize I was doing all those other things like really terribly. And so I came to realize that, of course, it was me getting more sleep, but that still wasn't enough. Have you ever known something where you're like, I know that's the truth, but it's still not enough to get me to take action? That's kind of what it was for me. And so I got this book called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson, I think is his name. And it really talked about the science behind sleep and how your body detoxifies the substances in your brain during certain times during the night. What happens if you don't sleep during those times? Your brain doesn't do that. And it's probably not a good thing to have those toxins build up in your system. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of like what was happening to me time and time and time again. So for me, logic definitely helped with that. But obviously, when it comes to energy, you need to be able to sleep so that you can have energy, right? Your body isn't capable of generating copious amounts of energy if you're not getting enough sleep, right? But at the same time, I know that some of you guys have crazy careers, you have crazy, businesses, you have crazy things going on with kids, but it's just making it a priority, just like all those other things are, right? Like, how can I make adjustments and learn from it, not to beat myself up, but also not to be the first place that I pull from is sleep, okay? All right, so number one was prioritizing sleep. Number two, this is my favorite. It is your personal growth. Yes, your personal growth. I find that whenever I have the most energy, it's because I'm growing and I'm learning something new. And a lot of times I'm teaching it to other people. Like, just to give you an example, today I'm literally teaching you about energy. And so when I sit down and I analyze what is it that helps me get more energy, it makes me take those actions so that I can bring them here to you, because I don't want to feel like a hypocrite. Like my son always says, like, are you a hypocrite? And it's because I want to like not only lean into what's actually working for me, but when I'm learning and growing, I feel like I'm not stuck. I feel like I'm not stagnant. And that's something that's huge for me, is like every morning I have to read a certain amount of pages in a book, maybe listen to some audio, maybe be a part of a group program that I'm in right now, a mastermind team. And I fuel it with that good input to make sure that I can take that and actually not only help other people with it, but I know that it always gets me to feel like I'm on fire, like I'm growing. If I'm not growing, I don't feel energized. So if you're the type of person where you realize that when you are growing, you do have that energy, then this is definitely something for you to lean into. What is and where, when you felt like most on point, has it been because you've been growing? Maybe you joined a new program. Maybe you had a one-on-one. Maybe you had, but you were kind of like forced into the atmosphere of growing. For me, that always generates a ton of energy. So that's number 2. Number 3, back to you.
All right. Number 3 is very similar, and that's your health journey. Right? If you are going through a transformational health journey, that is obviously going to give you physical energy, but it really does, increase your mental energy as well. It's like your personal growth journey. I mean, that's what it really is, right? You're going through some type of transformation. So just the mere fact that you are going through a health journey, that will improve your energy. And I remember back in the day when both of us were struggling with our health, and our kids were really small. They were like 2 or 3 years old. When we finally decided that we're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this together, which was game changing, right? Like we always talk about accountability, but when your accountability partner is your spouse, like that's, really like truly amazing. But I remember not doing or not wanting to do workouts because I always thought I was tired. I was like, well, I'm too tired to do this. But as I forced myself to do it, because, you have to go through that discipline, I started to get more energy when I was working out. So I was like, so I've had this all wrong all along. Like I was thinking about this wrong because I thought, well, I'm too tired to work out. However, the fact that I started to improve my physical activity and started to get into the habit of doing that, my energy shot up like a lot. And that just opens the door for so many things, right? Like I was able to, keep up with my kids who were running around at the time. I was able to have more energy for Mark when he was home and we had the luxury of actually spending time together. So, don't take for granted the fact that if you're going through a health journey, that's also going to improve your physical and your mental energy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm going to jump back into science, and you only love me because I believe in science, right? But I want to talk about the science behind that because I felt the same way. I'm like, I'm so exhausted. Like, how is working out going to help me, not only physically, but mentally? There's this law that I learned as a certified personal trainer, and that is the law of adaptation. And it's that your body wants to expend the least amount of energy as possible. So if you're not working out, you're not running or doing any movement, your body's going to see how it can burn even less calories the next day. And what it does is it makes you more wanting to sit around, not taking any more movement, right? But if you decide instead to go against it and say, you know what, I'm tired, but I'm going to go get my workout in. I'm going to take these actions, right? What it does is your body now sees, okay, he's not messing around. This is how much energy we use today. We need to rebuild up to this energy level because in order for us to survive, we need to continue to adapt to where he's going right now. And then the next day I work out a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so what it does is your baseline of energy in the beginning doesn't go up super fast. Your body's like, well, I'm not really sure if she's going to keep working out. You keep doing that. You keep eating healthy. Your body's like, okay, she's serious. We've got to adapt to make it easier to do it up to this level. And then it gets easier, right? And then you have that wind where you feel like you can go for a while. You can run further. It's because your body is constantly adapting. If you plateau and you don't push yourself past that plateau, your body can very easily just stay there forever, right? It's also the reason why we're talking about fitness and stuff like that. How for me, losing 100 pounds wasn't a linear thing. It was because of there's so many different variables, but this also applies to your energy, your physical and your mental energy too. When you stretch the limits and then you get that rest and recovery, right? If you don't focus on number one, sleep, this is all not going to actually be able to work, right? And then you're able to recover, it's going to push you up a little bit higher, which is why you generate more energy when you're actually taking care of your own health journey, okay? Your health journey, we talked a little bit about like being your fitness, but it's also like what you're drinking. It's also like what you're eating. It's also like the environment that you're in. It's also like cardio and all the different facets of your health journey. Are you taking care of yourself? In really making sure that you know that you can't pour from an empty cup, like they say, right? Making sure that you're making sure that your cup is full so that you can pour it out into others. All right. All right. Number 4 is the fourth hack when it comes to your energy is your environment, the environment that you're in. I just got off this 3-hour call. And then, we had last week where I was actually speaking on stage, and I can't tell you like at an event like that or like a webinar or something where it's live and you're there in person, especially, the energy is off the charts. So really the reason why is because energy is contagious. Like when you're around people who have energy, who give you energy, and you put yourself in that environment, it will naturally go and flow from one person to the next and throughout the whole environment. So setting yourself up for being in the right environment. This might mean like asking yourself, when I'm around these people, like this, they're the ones who give me massive amounts of energy. But when I'm around these people, or when I see these people pop up in my news feed, they suck the energy out of me. And so it's just a matter of how do I get in front of the right people more often, and how do I like unsubscribe, unfollow, or whatever from these other people. And you'll notice that it's not even necessarily like the energy, the amount of energy you see, because I don't know why when people say energy, they think like, they mean, I'm just talking about like being hyped up and everything. There's people who come onto modern leadership and they're like, bro, slow down with the energy. I'm going somewhere else where the energy isn't so high, right? And it's because they don't connect with how I like let my energy out. But then there's the opposite where people are naturally attracted, and it's supposed to be that way, but it's you using your form of energy, not trying to be like somebody else, but you actually just trying to connect with that other person, all right? So when it comes to your environment, ask yourself, how can you hang out in an environment that gives you more energy and disconnect from places that don't give you that energy? All right. Number 5, and we're already halfway there.
I know.
We're crushing this one.
We're speeding up because we got some energy.
We'll
All
go
right.
for it.
So number 5 is manage stress.
Oof.
So I want to hear in the comments, how many of you are stressed on a consistent basis?
Can I write in the comments?
Huh?
Can I write my name in the comments?
Yes, you can. Well, I already know, so you don't have to tell me. But there's good stress and there's bad stress, right? Or quote unquote bad stress. I mean, stress that pulls away from our energy or like sucks the energy out of us can be physical, right? It could be like you're always at fight or flight, right? Like there's like this constant like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on and I have to do everything, right? And it's like in your mind, you're like, I have to put out all these fires, and there's like this constant stress, or maybe there's something hard that's going on in your life that's stressful, right? So it's just kind of like this constant fight or flight mode that you're in that causes a lot of physical harm, but also mental and emotional harm. But then there's the stress like that gives you energy, like getting up on stage, right? That's like a nervous energy, right? Because we're all nervous about like getting up in front of people to, to give a speech or whatever, a presentation. But that also like your body just like reacts to it and it wants to, do the best you can, right? So there's like this positive energy. Also exercise is a form of stress, but it's a necessary stress that you need to have. But just kind of like making sure that you're balancing that out where, if you have like, let's say a high stress job, or you're just in a season of life where there's a lot of stress going on, then try to find a way to balance that out. Maybe there's some form of exercise that you need to put into your routine so that you can kind of like, counterbalance that negative, energy that you're pulling in. So I think managing stress is really important for our, mental and physical health. And, when it comes to like business, managing stress, that's making sure that we're not like, we're actually giving our best. Because we're doing all of this really, we're prioritizing sleep, we're on a personal growth journey, we're on a health journey, we're making sure that we're in the right environment and we're managing stress. Our business activities and the way that we show up for people is is going to be seen. Like people can see that, even if you don't like verbalize it, even if you think that you're going to try to hide that, people can see that and it's going to show in your work. So if you really want to, kill it in your business and like really do the best that you can with your business activities, all of these are important, but also just managing stress, because otherwise you're going to be like so you're just not going to want to work on your business. Like the passion for your business is just not going to be there.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love it. I love it. And yeah, Kurt, stress is definitely something that we deal with. And here's the thing too, guys. So Amber wrote a little bit like this, that stress is just a story and it's making her feel a little bit conflicted. So a couple things kind of come up when I hear that. The first piece being like, are you trying to shame or guilt yourself into not feeling stress? Because stress is a normal part of life. Like the definition of stress as a pressure or tension exerted on an object. Okay. So when it comes to stress, Amber, if you're like learning something, that's stressful. If we're working out, it's stressful. If we're going on a run, it's stressful. If we're dealing with kids, it's stressful. There's different kinds of stress. There's like the kind of stress where you just put so much stress and tension on yourself because you're thinking it over and over and over and over and over that you're actually like you're draining your energy, versus sometimes like stressing yourself in a other way, right? Could actually give you more energy, right? And I think like a lot of times people think this word stress means it's always bad. I want you to think about when I say stress, what comes up for you? Does like, oh man, that's terrible, I don't want any piece of that. Does that always come up for you? Well, then somewhere in here, there's a hidden thing that says you're not supposed to be stressed. You're never supposed to, like, how would we make changes in our life if we never experienced stress? Like you'd be immune to it and you would just keep doing what you're currently doing and your life would probably get to the place where you don't like enjoy what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So stress is an indicator. And I really love it being like trying to teach me something, right? Maybe it's just trying to teach me to do less and have more outsourcing, right? Or maybe it's trying to teach me like, hey, I'm supposed to be stressed while I'm working out. And that's a part of the process because it helps me build up even more. Kurt and I talk about this as well. It's like also mental toughness. So why do we take like 75 hard, like freezing cold showers? Because you're building up mental toughness going, yeah, it's going to be like a little painful, but I'm not going to die. And what it does is it shows you that you can actually use this skill of managing stress in multiple other areas. I don't really know of anybody who doesn't have stress. And I think like sometimes like everybody's trying to avoid it per se. I'm just trying to learn from it. I'm like, what is this trying to teach me? What are some different ways and paths that I can go down? And stress is not always bad. I mean, would you agree that if you own $1 million business, you have stress? Well, the answer is yes. I can promise you because I deal and talk with a lot of $1 million business owners and they still have stress. It's a natural part of life. It's just when you get too far one direction, honestly, or too far the other direction, right? When you're not stressing your body and you're sitting around all day, like that's also, it's the dichotomy. It's like, where is it in the middle? And how do I manage and cope with it? You know, some people work out, some people do meditation, some people do yoga. Like I've tried all of those things and they definitely work. Some people do box breathing. That's a really, really powerful way of like being able to calm yourself down, right? But there's different tools that you could use. But realizing that stress can pull from your energy is such a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I like. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Carmen says that she'd never met a human who didn't really truly have stress. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I was just going to say, like, the way that you defined it, I think is how it's trying to teach you something. It's really kind of like our check engine light, right? Mm-hmm. It's that thing that is kind of blaring at us, like, and it could be something that's manifesting into something physical, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, something's up. Like, there's like this kind of like, we need to get back to the equilibrium, and it's your body saying, hey, this is too much stress. You need to check it out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Just don't ignore that, right? Don't keep driving until your engine falls out, right? Okay, so that was number 5. Number 6, I'm going to spice this one up a little bit. We're going to be talking about our adventures, okay? Our adventures. I want to ask you this. When's the last time you went on an adventure? When's the last time you like went freaking camping? Maybe you're Teresa and you're like, I don't want to be out and get dirty. We ain't going camping. But when's the last time you did something that was totally out of the norm? I want you to think about that. And I want you to ask yourself what type of energy that brought you. Sometimes the day-to-day monotonous over and over and over again, like just gets boring and you lose energy at that point.
Yeah.
But what if you went out and you had an adventure? So next week, actually tomorrow, we're leaving to go to Maui. So that's going to be an adventure for us. Like I got everything planned. This is like the spontaneous vacation where I planned everything out. I got everything planned on what we're going to be doing during the days, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to be like backpacking. We're going to be on like, I don't know if we got the submarine one, but I know we got the ocean cruise.
No.
I know we got like so many
We
other
didn't get a
different things.
submarine.
Oh man. I was really vying for that one. But we got like so many different things because it's going to put us into a different environment. Our kids are not going to be connected to their laptops and stuff. They're going to be literally there in Hawaii with us, going to a luau and doing all these kind of things. And first off, even just the thought of an adventure excites me. It gives me energy just thinking about it. I remember teaching on a call where I was like, hey guys, is it more fun to go on vacation or more fun thinking about the vacation leading up to it? Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's like sometimes it's more fun thinking about it because when you get there, like the kids are fighting, they're angry, like everything's not going as planned, right? And then now you can be like, oh man, this vacation kind of sucks, right? But leading up to it, it's like perfect in our mind. And it's because that's what we really think about is leading up to it. We experience it multiple times before we actually even have that experience, if that makes sense. It's really the power of your mind. So when you think about adventures, I want you to think about what is something you could do completely out of the norm. Like literally one time we decided instead of like eating at the dinner table that we would build like a little campfire, a fake campfire in the middle of our living room, and we would sit there and we would eat. That does not cost any money, but let me tell you, just the conversations and we were laughing about it and all the things we were doing allowed us to be on an adventure. I mean, the reason why we're going to Maui is because 3 years ago we wanted to go to Maui when Teresa turned 25. But on her birthday, we couldn't because this thing called COVID was around. So we brought Maui here. Like I literally bought stuff that was from Maui, had it shipped over here, got some food from a place that, and we brought it here. I posted things up in the house like as if we're at Maui. We actually watched a luau like in HD. We actually walked on the beach in HD on our TV. Like it was this whole experience, and we did it all here. So when you think about adventures, yes, I want you to get out and like have awesome adventures, but also like how can you make a small adventure today just be something else completely different? I mean, even like changing the seating table that you have, or the who sits in what seat at the dinner table, that can be an adventure. It's like different. It's like, and by the way, that's definitely one that was super funny. Is everybody sat in a different seat, and you had to take on the personality of the person whose seat you were in. That was hilarious. You learn a lot about yourself and what your family thinks of you in that moment. But it was awesome because it was like a new adventure, all right? So when you think about energy, ask yourself, have you had an adventure recently, right? Have you gone to the Mexican food place like Kurt and getting this huge burrito and getting to just be outside the norm for a little while, right? And by doing that, it just brings your energy to an entirely different level, all right? So that is number 6, and that is your adventures. That is one of my best hacks for actually hacking into your energy. All right, on to you.
All right. So the next one is use productivity tools. So this is something where, you're using actual, systems, workflows and things like that to actually help you with energy, because it's not going to take you a lot of time. It's going to save you time, and you're not going to have to spend so much energy on, the things that you're doing. Like how many of you like sit down in front of your computer and you're like, okay, it's time to work. But then it feels like there's just so much that you need to do, and there's no streamlining or anything. And then it just like really drains your energy because you're like, this is like a lot of work and I don't want to do it. Right. So having productivity tools, having some type of system that can allow you to spend less time working and more time either creating or doing whatever it is that you want, right? So we actually have a lot of different tools. Some of them are, free, and some of them we actually pay for. There are some like, Evernote, like that one thing Mark utilizes every single day. I don't use it as much. I actually just use the free version of my notes app for my phone to kind of like organize things. So, it's just kind of you figuring out what works best for you. but really looking for tools that are really going to help you with your energy. I mean, we have things that we use in our business that will help us kind of streamline some of like the client onboarding stuff. There's tons of different things out there. It's just finding what works best for you so that you don't have to spend so much energy doing repetitive things. Because that's normally what happens is that there's things that we constantly do, but if you create a system around it so that you can spend less time doing that, that's going to save you a lot of mental and physical energy.
100%. Like what we had a call with Kurt where we talked about like repurposing content. It's the same thing. It's a tool that you can use to make it so that you don't have to use so much energy. And it's awesome when you have that because like I said, like I'll do one video, post it up into StreamYard, which is a process that we use there. And like literally Kurt makes it turn to life and it becomes magic like in 2 or 3 weeks from now. And it's like, it actually empowers me because I get to live within my energy and what I love that gives me energy, which by the way is different than what gives Kurt energy and different than what gives Teresa energy. We all have a little different way of getting our energy. And so being able to maximize mine and then outsourcing and allowing other people to do that is so critical. So really, really great point. Okay. Number 8 is your core values. Hack number 8 is your core values. Meaning, are you living within your core values? So for me, that's health, that's family, impact, and integrity. There we go. So when I think about those 4, and I literally have sentences that I say every single morning to remind myself of my core values, when I feel like I'm living within those, I feel on point. I'm like, today I made my family a priority, my health a priority. I made impact, which is what I'm doing right now. And I made integrity. Like I had an opportunity to like go a different path, but I decided to step into in being vulnerable, right? And telling them exactly what it is that like I was experiencing or feeling. Like when I live into those, I feel like I've got unlimited amounts of energy. I mean, how many of you guys would be able to do a 3-hour training and then jump onto a 1-hour like call here, right? It's not normal to like use and be able to expend that kind of energy, especially when you're an introvert. By the way, I don't get energy from people. I actually need that time to like rest and recover. But when you realize that, hey, you know what? You can actually tap into your core values and see how you can continue to fire yourself up. It's a game changer. The opposite is true too. If you ever get to the end of the day and you feel like, man, I did a whole ton of stuff, but I just feel like nothing's been done. It's probably because you either didn't live within your core values or you spent too much time in one of them. I mean, this is like the dichotomy of life, right? It's like family and health and impact and integrity. It's like dichotomy because maybe sometimes I'm going to spend a little bit more time with family like next week. But like, am I spending time also when I'm making an impact? Am I spending time over here on my health? And sometimes we swing it a little bit too far one direction. That's a part of the process, right? We're humans. We're not going to get it right. But it's also trying to teach us something. If we don't have energy, we got to ask ourselves like, was I living in my values? Or how do I get myself back into my values? Truth is, guys, you are going to have days where you don't live into your values. There's no shame or guilt or humiliation or anything that you should be feeling if you're maybe not living into your values right now. You're a human being. That's what we do. Our values are there to remind us of what true north is. If we already did it all the time, like we wouldn't have to be reminded, right? And so that's the purpose of like having and identifying your core values is making sure that you can figure out what your true north is and then just making sure you site correct, right? Like they say, you're going from one place to another, like on an airplane, like even 1% off, right? But at the same time, like they make corrections in the air, that they change their direction and the wind speed and all that kind of stuff, you know, and they get to their end destination because they're willing to make those adjustments. It's the same thing here. Just make those adjustments and live within your core values. All right. Number 9.
Number 9.
That's you.
Is have a routine. So this is one of those things that we're constantly working on, but having a routine will give you so much energy because you know what's going to happen, right? You have kind of like this flow that you work towards throughout the day. I mean, our kids, if they don't have a routine, like we tried to implement a routine for summer. I think it's going pretty well, right? But they thrive on routines. And I don't think that goes away when you become an adult. We thrive on routines and just knowing what's going to happen, but also being prepared for what could happen. So I think routines are super important because they not only keep you focused, they help you maintain your clarity, and they help you maintain your energy, because you kind of like, you figure out like how much it is that you're going to be doing, and you pour into everything so that you have the energy to do it. But when you're off your routine, just think about it this way. Like, let's say you're on vacation and you're not a planners like we are, I guess, that we have like everything planned out and we have a routine for our vacation. Let's say you're on vacation or whatever, you're trying to enjoy it, but you're off your routine. And how do you feel? You just feel off, right? You feel kind of blah. And at some point you like realize, well, this is the point of a vacation. It's just, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to rest and recover and do all that stuff. But if you think about it like on a daily basis, if you don't know what you're doing or you don't have any direction, you're just going to be all over the place, and your energy levels are going to be all over the place as well. So we truly thrive on routines, and we always have to make adjustments because we're not always going to have the same routine. We're going to go through different seasons. So also understanding that, being open to making tweaks on those routines so that you can continue to find your flow.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I know Amber said this too. Like, there's certain words that may like get you off track. And if routine is one of those for you, that just means that there's a story that you have in your brain that means that a routine is like not a good thing. And so you can use different wording, right? So if you have stuff like that comes up, whether it's even like in real life on this call or whatever, just make sure you realize like, hey, I can change it to mean whatever I want. For her, she uses checklist. I like checklist too. And I actually like to-do list. People say like, I hate the word to-do list. I'm like, it sounds good. I like to know what to do. Otherwise I'm like winging it. And I know that didn't help me for my first 34 years when I was winging it. Right. And so I like that. We all have different interpretations, especially of words. So find a word that will like literally get you to lean into it and use that. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Number 10, we're going to end this up and we're going to end it up with one thing to actually stop instead of start doing. And that is like protecting your energy at all costs. So what causes you to lose energy? We talked a lot about like what causes you to gain energy, but I just want to end this with like, what are some of the things that you do? What are some of the environments that you're in? What are some of the people that you're around? What are some of the things that happen that make you lose energy? Because it's the awareness factor of like, what are some of the adjustments that you can make right now? Teresa kind of talked about this a minute ago, but I like to solve problems in advance. And if I have an idea of what's going to happen the next day, then I know what kind of problems could come up. And so if I'm like, I want to have massive energy tomorrow because we're going to go on vacation, we're going to have this awesome time in Maui, then I'm going to think about what are the things that could throw me off in the morning that I maybe not want to lean into. Right now we're having a little issue with YouTube. And so for me, I probably don't want to go down the hole of YouTube tomorrow because it's going to put me into a funky energy because of the things that are going on in the background that you guys can't necessarily see, right? And so that for me is going to be something that I avoid tomorrow. And if I can, I'm going to get it out of my system today so that I can just release it and get to the point where the next week will literally just be controlled, not by this story that I have in my head about what's going on, but in reality, like the experience that I want to create with my family. All right. So yeah, Kurt, YouTube is fun. It is. But with fun comes great responsibility, right? But anyway, asking yourself, like, what is it that could potentially take your energy? What has taken your energy in the past, and finding a way to solve that in advance. Now, I do have a couple different, go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to highlight Carmen's comment about being around negative people. This reminds me of the book, The Energy Vampires. Mm-hmm. It's a really good book. It's a personal development book, but it's the way that it's like displayed, or the description of it is like a little different than a normal personal development book. But it really talks about like the importance of surrounding yourself with people who give you energy rather than take energy. Like those energy vampires, they suck the energy out of you. So I think that's super important.
Okay. I love that. I love it. And I think actually Amber was like, hey, can we do a Q&A sometime? Kurt says, having a great family time like ours help manage stress. 100%. In terms of what you said, Amber, 100%, as soon as we get all the YouTube worked out, I'm actually going to create what's called a channel membership, where I'm going to do once a month live Q&A for only the people who are a part of our modern leadership group here, because I have a lot of requests from that. Like, hey, can I ask you questions? Can I bring things up and really help you or help me coach myself through this? So the answer is going to be yes. We're definitely going to do that. But also I want to end with a couple different questions for you guys to ask. Because I know that when it comes to energy, there's been times when you felt like you had massive energy, and there's been times when you felt that you haven't had it. All right. So I want to revisit some of the things from the past to see what's worked for you, and then help you create a plan in terms of what you're going to be tackling this week. All right. So I want you to think about a time that you had a high level of energy, high level of momentum, and you felt like everything was it was really on your side. You were like, I'm unstoppable. Okay. So you had this high level of energy. I want you to ask yourself, what was going on that made you feel that way? Who were you hanging out with? What were you listening to? What were you growing through? They say, good input, good output, bad input, bad output, right? So who were you around? Who weren't you around? That's a critical one, right? Because sometimes there'll be people who have massive success that actually can make other people feel less than, because maybe the way they communicate, or maybe just the way that your stories are kind of you're having a story about this person. But if they're the kind of person who doesn't give you energy, maybe it's not meant for you to follow them. Maybe it's for you to get behind somebody who does give you energy, right? And so being able to grab this stuff and going, these are the things that have given me the massive amount of energy, and these are the things that take it away from me, now can help you create a plan for this next week to have more of the high energy days and less of the low energy days. The truth is, as a human, you're going to have low energy days, but the least amount of low energy days you can possibly have, the better, right? So lean into the strategies, the 10 different hacks that we talked about today. And I do want to hear in the chat, for everybody who is here live and also for people on the replay, what is the one that you're going to lean into this next week to give you the most amount of energy? For me, it's going to be adventure. I'm going to lean into adventure. We're going to do some crazy things. I'm going to make Teresa backpack in Hawaii. I'm going to do all of these things that the kids are going to be like, what? We're swimming with the sharks? Okay, I'm not going to do that one. But we're going to do ones that create this level of excitement and energy, not only for me, but the entire family. So mine is going to be adventure. Let's go through these one more time, and I want to hear yours. Number 1 is prioritizing your sleep. Number 2 is your personal growth. Number 3 is your health journey. Number 4 is your environment. Number 5 is managing your stress. Number 6 is your adventures. Number 7 is finding and using productivity tools. Number 8 is identifying your core values. Number 9 is having a routine or a checklist. And number 10 is protecting your energy at all costs. Which one are you going to lean into? I want to hear it in the chat. Real true adventures where we can be wild with no consequences. Amber, you're speaking my language. That's awesome. 4, 6, and 7. 4, 6, and 7. Your environment, your adventures, and productivity tools. Trisha's like an overachiever always. 4, 6, and 7. Let's go. Let's go. Changing up the work environment. Yes, that environment is critical. I mean, I know a lot of you guys know this, but I was a police sergeant, police officer for 20 years in LAPD. Let me tell you, the environment, and when you're in the police career, not only with the environment of the people that you are dealing with, but also the people who wear a badge with you, sometimes it can be not so positive. And by sometimes, I mean all the time. I was the coach that everybody was like, okay, if I want to feel good, I need to be around Mark today, because that's just the vibe that I kind of gave. But it also would get caught in me sometimes because of that environment. So critically important when it comes to the environment you're in. Sometimes you can't change it. Could I change my police career? Well, I guess I kind of did, because I retired early, right? But at the same time, in the moment, I couldn't, right? And so I was thinking about what were other ways, maybe what are some people that I could hang out with that do have a little bit more energy, and it really did help me. And then I became that person who was the go-to person when that person needed energy or advice or anything like that. And I got plenty of commendations from people that I arrested who said that I was the nicest police officer ever. I don't know. That just feels good when you have to do something like that. I don't love having to do that, but getting that kind of feedback was huge for me. Okay, Julie said creating a new routine. I love it, Julie. What are you going to be creating a new routine around? Is your health and fitness? Is it work? Is it personal life? And let's see. Oh, Kurt says stress management. And he said just kidding, but he's not. Kurt, I'm going to force you to focus on stress management, especially when I'm away, because I know that you can add extra stress, having to think that you have to do a million other extra things. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Appreciate you for leaning in, for diving into these 10 different hacks. If you missed any of them, go back, rewatch it. We're going to leave it up here. If you have any questions or need any help with this, that's what we're here for. And be sure and subscribe so that every Saturday you get on workshops like this designed around becoming a modern leader. And then, of course, our shorter videos on Mondays and Thursdays. But I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for what you do out there every single day, especially when you don't think other people are watching. I promise you they are. And I appreciate you for being that kind of leader. And I'll see you guys next week. All right. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.